Now, if you are totally new to golf and looking forward to getting out for your first ever golf game but don't know what actual clubs you'll need, then this video is especially to help you. You're actually allowed to bring a maximum of 14 clubs out on the golf course with you, but really at first you probably won't need that many. First of all, let's look at the different types of golf club there are, and essentially there are three types. There are woods, there are irons, and then there are putters. Now woods, these are big blocky headed clubs, and these will hit the ball the furthest. Now they're called woods because back in the old days the heads used to be made out of woods, but nowadays they're made from metal and carbon. And the biggest wood of them all, this one here, used to be called the one wood. This one hits the ball the furthest. This is called a driver. And if you are hitting off a tee box and feel like using your driver, you can make it easier to hit the ball by teeing it up. Now, apart from drivers, but also in the wood family, you'll also find smaller headed clubs called fairway woods. Now these might have smaller heads, but actually they're easier to hit than drivers most of the time. These ones can also be hit off the tee to start off a hole, just like the driver, and teed up, but with enough practice you'll be able to hit your fairway wood without a tee under it and just off the grass. It'll become very useful. So drivers are fun to hit, but they are not that easy to hit, and sometimes it takes quite a bit of practice to get used to hitting and controlling. So if you're just a beginner, we recommend the fairway wood as a safer, easier option. It will still go plenty far, so don't worry. Next, on to the clubs called irons, and these have numbers stamped on them to basically indicate how far they hit the ball. Now for instance, this one here, this is called the 7 iron, and once you get used to hitting shots with it, you'll quickly figure out how far it goes. Now as we go down from the 7 to this 6 iron, this one here will hit the ball a little bit further than the 7, and this 5 iron will hit the ball a little bit further again. And if you compare the 7 to the 5, you'll see the face of the 7 points up more to the sky than the 5. We say it has more loft. And conversely, if we go down from the 7 one club to the 8, you will hit the ball a little bit shorter than the 7, and so on with the 9, which will be a little bit shorter again. So comparing the 7 to the 9 iron, the 9 has more loft. So as the numbers get higher, the lofts get higher. Now the funny thing with irons is that there is no 10 iron. Instead, after the 9 iron, the next one is called a pitching wedge, and you'll often see just a P or a PW stamped on the club. And a pitching wedge is a great club for hitting short, high shots into the green. And I'll just mention one other club in the iron category which comes after the pitching wedge, and that is this one here. It's called a sand wedge. You'll see S or SW stamped on it. Now you can hit your sand wedge from the grass just like all the other irons. It will hit the ball shorter than your pitching wedge, but as the name suggests, it is a specialist club for hitting the ball off sand, which will be in bunkers. Now the design of the sand wedge here, called the sole, is such that it cuts through the sand, it glides under the ball, and it makes it easy to get the ball out of a bunker. So that's woods and irons. Now I did say there are 3 types of club, and of course the final type is called a putter, and this one here you will use on greens to essentially put the ball into the hole. Now they come in all different shapes and sizes, some quite weird. This one here is quite big and blocky, and it's got lots of lines to help you line up your ball for a putt. So those are the types of clubs you have, but how many of them do you really need to go out and play for the first time? Well, I remember when I started playing, and my dad picking out the few golf clubs for my first golf bag, and the same advice he gave me back then holds very true today. So what did he say? Well, he started off and he said, bring your driver with you and your fairway wood. Have a go at hitting the driver just for fun, but if it gets too difficult, you always have your fairway wood for long shots. And if that doesn't work, he said, just hit an iron off the tee, any club really, that gets you off to a good start on a hole and helps build your confidence. Now when it comes to irons, you only really need to start with a 7 iron as your longest one. So then pop in your 7, pop in your 8, your 9, your pitching wedge and your sand wedge. Leave these long irons out, and of course you'll be needing a putter. So that was a total of 8 golf clubs, plenty to get you up and running, and your bag will even be light enough to carry if you don't want to use a trolley. Finally, just a word on picking your first golf clubs. Now there are clubs out there for beginners like you, and then there are clubs out there for advanced golfers that look very much the same, but they can be very difficult to hit. So what are you looking for in your clubs? Well, when it comes to a driver, the job is pretty easy. You essentially want something with a big head, and thankfully most modern drivers will have that. Now some drivers have lots of movable weights and screws, while others are already built ready to hit, like this one here. No bells, no whistles, just a great driver. Now with your first irons, look for ones with big chunky heads like these ones that have an opening at the back just like this. These are called cavity back irons. Irons in the old days, this is an antique, this is what they used to look like, very thin at the back, and modern irons for better players can look very much like those. Those are called blades. Avoid those and go for cavity backs. And when it comes to your first putter, choose something that just feels comfortable for you, something you think you can line up the ball nicely with, and have a go at rolling the ball towards the hole on the right line. So to summarize then, you're excited about your first round of golf. I would say to bring about 8 golf clubs in the bag, a driver or smaller wood that you can hit off the tee, a few irons, maybe starting at 7, 8, 9 pitching wedge, sand wedge for bunkers and short shots, and your putter. Pick irons with big, friendly, chunky heads, not skinny flat ones, because they are harder to hit. And lastly, always bring enough golf balls to last you the round. It is really easy to lose these things. Now I do hope this all helps you get ready for your first game of golf, and for lots more helpful advice, check us out on GolfBidder Facebook, Twitter and Instagram, and please hit that subscribe button on this YouTube video if you like this video. It'll also keep you in the loop when a new GolfBidder video drops. From me for now, enjoy your golf. It's Donal out.